Now on to a special on Islamic banking. Eid al-Adha is being celebrated across the country today with special prayers in Eidgahs and mosques. Festivities coincide with the final round of Hajj pilgrimage. And we have a special program for you, as we promised in the beginning, on Islamic finance and its scope in India. Islamic banking in India is still to make its mark. In 2010, Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh had actually said to the Reserve Bank to look into Islamic banking practices in Malaysia as a possible model. Financial institutions such as HSBC, Taurus, UTI, Kotak, Reliance, Bajaj Allianz and Reliance Mutual Fund have invested products that are Sharia tolerant in nature. Here's a special report. Islamic banking, a term still to gain currency in India but has already made its mark around the world. Sharia prescribes how a Muslim must run his business. It forbids interest both when lending and borrowing. Investment must be based on the principle of shared risk, making lender a partner in business and not a creditor. Businesses considered immoral, such as trade in tobacco, liquor, explosives and lending money for interest, are excluded. The abolition of interest, or riba, is the most well-known principle of Islamic finance. Revenues come when both the sides share risk and reward. An investment must be backed by real goods or services. And what's more, Islamic banking isn't restricted to Muslims only. Globally, Islamic banking is thriving. Largest center of Islamic bankings are in Malaysia and West Asia. It's widespread in West as well. Almost every leading Western bank, including Standard Chartered, Deutsche Bank, Citibank and BNP Paribas, have Islamic finance windows. Islamic banking assets worldwide are worth $1.55 trillion and will cross $2 trillion mark by 2015. Islamic banking is operational in more than 75 countries around the world. During the past decade, the assets of Islamic banks have grown at an average rate of 15%. In India, only baby steps have been taken regarding Islamic banking. Chairman Financial Service Limited is the first Sharia-compliant NBFC in India. Government of Kerala has 11% stake in Chairman Financial Services Limited. TASIS, an index on the Bombay Stock Exchange, represents only Sharia-compliant stocks. Key financial laws such as the Banking Regulation Act must be altered to allow full-fledged Islamic banking in India. Indeed, if Islamic banking is unlocked, it has a potential to provide abundant funding to businesses across India. Business Desk, GD News. We are joined by Waqar Anwar, member of the Indian Center for Islamic Finance and senior journalist Shishir Sinha. Welcome to Doordarshan News. So I'll start with you. My first question is, briefly and concisely, tell me what is Islamic banking?
Islamic banking is alternative banking based on participatory concept. The financial intermediary, the bank, participates with the lender and with the borrower. Both are parties to the same. They share profit or loss. There is some asset backed on which funding is done, and then either they asset back or they do on profit loss sharing or maybe on rental basis.
But Shishir, tell me, I think that it still hasn't made its mark in India.
The problem with the banking law especially prescribes that whatsoever business you are doing as a financial activity, it should have some interest component involved into that. Islamic banking clearly says that there is no concept of interest into this structure, this product. So when you have a product like this, when the law doesn't allow that, how you can do that? And that is why there has always been a discussion. There's even the Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, as you mentioned rightly in the beginning of this discussion, that he asked RBI to study Malaysian model and bring some changes.
Happen?
No, not at all. Because the problem is a political issue. It's not something which is a purely financial issue or economic issue. Unfortunately, it has become a political issue. When Kerala government started Chairman NBFC, and you won't believe that Chairman is acting only as an NBFC, it can't act as a bank because of the banking regulation. Even before that, there was one particular institution which was started in Kerala that was shut down by RBI because they said that you are not very transparent on interest thing. They said very clearly that we are not charging interest, but they said you should come out with the pricing thing. They said we are not charging interest, we are partner in the business, and defining the partner is not within the ambit of RBI, but in the ambit of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs.
But Anwar Saab, it's sometimes very difficult for me to fathom a bank which works without interest rate. How does this bank works when it does not charges interest? How does it keeps on balance the various NPAs, the bad debts? How does it handle?
The problem with Indian law is that we are following a system of commercial banking distinct from industrial banking. Commercial banking are providing only working capital finance, and we have industrial bank providing equity or maybe long-term debt finance. So this universal banking concept of many like Germany and other European countries, the whole thing has been solved. There should be one single agency providing both the facilities for equity financing also and for working capital financing also. So the equity financing is always on profit loss sharing. We have the concept of development of Silicon Valley based on venture capital. The whole thing flourished, and venture capital is equity capital, participation based on equity. So equity financing is the basis of Islamic banking. When both the parties, the financer and the person taking the finance, they are participating.
So, but what about the bad debts, NPAs? How do you handle them?
The losses should be shared based on capital ratio. This is a known concept for British law. We call it Gharar versus Murray law, where profits are shared based on aggregate ratio, and losses are shared based on capital ratio. So both the parties have a capital ratio.
So tell me some global example how Islamic banking is functioning in other countries.
Take the case of Malaysia. The one popular concept is that Islamic banking is only for Muslims. But in Malaysia, the clientele is basically Chinese and they are Christians. Basically, the businessmen there are Christians. Majority of the clientele of Islamic banking in Malaysia are non-Muslims because the banks are serving better, the client is getting good service, they are opting for that. So, and Malaysian example is akin to us, like us. Other this Middle East countries are not like us because they have a rentier type of economy. We are production-based economy.
So, politics aside, can India follow the Malaysian example?
Of course it can follow, and especially when you are trying to develop entrepreneurship in India, if an entrepreneur has little money, if an entrepreneur is not in a position to pay higher interest charged by various commercial banks, why can't be partnership based financial system? I will just give you an example that how does it work. We did a story, I mean my newspaper Hindu Business Line did a story on that, a detailed feature on that, and we just tried to give an example that how, like a company called A, if it wants to start a restaurant with say rupees 10 lakh capital, he puts in rupees 5 lakh of his own money and approaches B, which is a Islamic financial institutions, to pay the remaining amount. B agrees to invest rupees 5 lakh in that restaurant for a 50% in stake. Remember, Islamic finance doesn't allow more than 50% stake. Am I right, sir?
No, that is not the case.
There is not that case. But I mean, it's a unwritten principle. Usually, it's in practice that they do not do. Then rupees 5 lakh will be paid in 4 equal installment of rupees 1.25 lakh each. In the first year, profit are shared equally because, as Waqar Saab said, that profit are always on the agreed ratio, right? At the end of the year, the value of V stake will come down to rupees 3,75,000. And in this process, as the company is earning profit
So
in 4 years.
You think that India could benefit by Islamic banking?
When you have to promote entrepreneurship, you have to have innovative financing mechanism. When you have a system of very high financing system, how an entrepreneur will go to commercial bank, will ask for money if he doesn't have anything, say a capital asset to get it mortgaged there, then how he will start his venture?
So, but critics have argued that what's the use of having a separate system in an already traditional format of banking? It's like having two systems in one unit.
So that can be done. We can have a parallel window, separate window for that. And this criticism is not valid because we have practices in different countries. Like the case of UK, the London case. We have Islamic window, Islamic bank there, and
normal commercial bank
parallel with conventional banks. We call it conventional banks. So this alternative banking is possible. You can remember that we have had several committees to assess the Islamic banking for India, and no committee has said that this system is unviable or not feasible.
I believe the last was Raghuram Rajan's
He
financial
has
sector.
himself in his committee, Rajan report, we have his comment that it should be done. So all the committees agree the system is viable, the system is feasible. Only thing is the law in India doesn't permit. So law can be changed, can be adjusted.
And if I add to what he has said, if your constitution allows you to follow any religion, then why it cannot be allowed to have a particular financial system according to your religious belief and religious need? It can be done. That's not impossible. The only thing, you will have to amend your law. You will have to provide.
And you only see political hurdles in front of that.
Of course, like last time when Subramaniam Swamy filed a case against one particular institution of Kerala, and unfortunately that petition was disposed without any order, against that particular institution. Fair enough. But there is a political system. We oppose because it's belong to a particular community.
Do you see some kind of regulatory hurdles also?
That's one hurdle is there. Banking Regulation Act, you have to amend that act only. That will make possible Islamic banking. If Islamic NBFC can work, if Islamic mutual fund can work, if Islamic non-exotic derivative product can work, then why can't be a bank can?
So you tell me, what kind of financial products does Islamic bank offer?
Islamic banks offer two types of products. One is for production-based units where we are sharing profit and loss also, loss sharing on capital ratio, profit on aggregate ratio. And we have another type of concept when we have the concept of installment. When asset is rented on certain value, and the premium paid covers both the capital amount and the amount of rental for user effect of that item. So by suppose for after 10 installment, both the capital amount is paid and the asset is transferred to.
So can you little bit explain the Islamic concept of Islamic bond? So
the concept of here sukuk. Sak means document, like bond. Bond also literally means document. Sukuk is the plural of sak, means document based on some asset being developed. I become owner of a part of the asset, and I am that. But that ownership is transferable. I can sell, like equity share. We are equity owners. We can sell the equity in the market, and the market may give me better than what my principal amount was. So the sukuk is the ownership right of a part of an asset, and that ownership right is transferable, sellable.
What do you see the future of Islamic banking across the world? According to some estimates, it's like $2 trillion. So where do you see the Islamic banking going?
This 15% growth which we have witnessed, we believe from ICIF and my institution, our estimate is that this will go above 20%. And a country like India will surely enter into this area.
And you think
changing.
Coming to a journalist view is always considered to be a neutral, objective one. So, sir, you tell me, will it promote inclusion, given the fact that according to some data, like 50,000 crores interest Muslims don't take, they're lying idle in Kerala banks. Will it promote? How much will it promote?
See, we have a population of almost, the Muslim population contributes almost 13%. I mean, it has a share of 13% in overall population.
But
13 to 14.
Muslim population.
Yeah,
this
13 to 14%. So, if this kind of population, if they are not getting banking according to their religious belief, if they want to go to a particular institution which also follow their religious thinking, why it can't be done? It can be done. There is a possibility. The only thing is you will have to go beyond your political thinking.
So one last question to both of you. One common thing. Tell me one good point about Islamic banking which can help the country. One.
For me, it's developing entrepreneurship, because you are getting capital at a very, very, very less amount.
And so you?
For me, this will include a population which is not bankable today. So that fund from that non-banking bankable person will come to mainstream. And then added to that is that we can expect a fund from Middle East. The flow we need for covering our right now we are talking about direct investment capital required. That capital can be brought in through this mechanism of Islamic banking.
Thank you so much, Anwar Saab, Shishir sir. Eid Mubarak to both of you.
Thank you.
So that was a special on Islamic banking. Hope you liked it.